Hey guys, welcome back. This is the first lecture in our series on literary theory and criticism. I hope आपने पहली वीडियो जरूर देख ली है इंट्रोडक्शन वाली, and these are all the lectures that we'll be covering during this course. तो इस लेक्चर के अंदर we will discuss about Plato, about his republic, and why he banned the poets in that republic. Then we will see that why he should not have banned those poets. And in the end, we will see what were the challenges that Plato laid out for the future generations of poets and thinkers. So let us talk about Plato. Who was Plato? Well, he was ironically the first literary critic and also the first critic of literature. Ironically इसलिए इसके meaning बता देता हूँ. Literary critic means the one who knows so much about literature that he can easily distinguish a good and a bad work of literature. और इतने अच्छे से लिटरेचर को स्टडी करने के बावजूद भी उन्होंने लिटरेचर को बैन करने के लिए बोल दिया. I mean, if somebody else would have said so, nobody would have paid attention, but it was Plato. That is why it was a big thing. And this is the reason he is called as the first critic of literature. और यही रीजन था जिसकी वजह से आज हम ये सब्जेक्ट पढ़ रहे हैं, जिसके बारे में हम आगे डिस्कस करेंगे. So look at these four names. These are all very big and great and interesting people. सोक्रेटिस के बारे में I like to say something. आज के टाइम पे अगर आप इन्हें कंपेयर करेंगे तो ये रवीश कुमार एनडीटीवी के जो एडिटर हैं उनसे मिलते जुलते थे उस जमाने में, लेकिन इतनी टॉलरेंस होती नहीं थी तो इन्हें सैडली जहर देकर मार दिया गया था. He was ordered to drink poison in front of all the people for asking too many questions. But later on, people recognized. So Socrates was the teacher of Plato, Plato the teacher of Aristotle, Aristotle the teacher of Alexander the Great. Plato, he was born in Athens, जहाँ पर उन्होंने अकेडमी को फाउंड किया, और एरिस्टोटल जहाँ पर पढ़ने आए. Now let us talk about his works. Although Plato gave many works like Symposium, Ion, Timaeus, but इस लेक्चर में जिस वर्क की हम बात करेंगे, it is Republic. So प्लेटो के टाइम में रिपब्लिक यूज्ड टू बी समथिंग लाइक द पार्लियामेंट इन टुडेज टाइम. कुछ लोग थे जिनकी कमेटी मिलकर एक डिसीजन लेती थी और जो रूलर को मानना ही होता था. और उस टाइम की रिपब्लिक इट यूज्ड टू बी करप्ट एंड फुल ऑफ इनजस्टिस. तो प्लेटो ने एक आइडिया दिया आइडियल रिपब्लिक का इन 373 बीसी. एंड प्लेटोज आइडियल रिपब्लिक वाज ऑल अबाउट ट्रूथ, जस्टिस एंड परफेक्शन. कि कैसा एक आइडियल रूलर होना चाहिए, हाउ शुड बी एन आइडियल स्टेट, लॉज क्या होने चाहिए. और आज भी इनके दिए गए सजेशंस को लोग अपने एजुकेशन सिस्टम या अपने जुडिशियल सिस्टम की भी बुनियाद मानते हैं. देन ही सेड दैट माय प्रिंसेस, द प्रिंसेस ऑफ आइडियल रिपब्लिक, दे शुड नॉट बी अलाउड टू रीड पोएट्री. एंड ये जो पोइट्स हैं, दीज पीपल शुड नॉट बी अलाउड इन माय आइडियल रिपब्लिक. और अगर उनको अलाउ कर भी देते हैं ना, तो दे शुड बी प्लेस्ड एट द लोएस्ट लेवल. जैसे कि इंडिया के अंदर शूद्रों का प्लेस होता था, वैसे ही पोइट्स का प्लेस होना चाहिए आइडियल रिपब्लिक के अंदर. नाउ लेट्स गो समवॉट डीपर इनटू द रिपब्लिक एंड नो व्हाई ही बैन्ड दोस पोइट्स. फर्स्ट रीजन कम्स आउट टू बी द कांसेप्ट ऑफ माइमेसिस. माइमेसिस को इंग्लिश में हम इमिटेशन कहते हैं, एंड इन हिंदी यू कॉल इट नकल करना. So Plato says that poetry is an unreliable source of truth because the physical world of becoming, it is the mimesis of unseen world of being. यानी कि हम जिस दुनिया में रह रहे हैं, it is a shadow or an imitation or a copy of the real world which exists in heaven, the original one. He said that our world is a world of change, of death, of decay, of mortality, whereas the world of being, it is a world of forms, perfection, immortality. जैसे अर्थ के ऊपर एक चेयर है, उन्होंने चेयर का एग्जांपल दिया. He said that there are so many types of chair on earth, but none of them is perfect. You can think yourself that if you are asked to choose a chair from 50 different, then I think all of you will choose different chairs. This means that none of the chair is a perfect chair which can be liked by everybody. But the idea of a chair, it is perfect, that you need something to sit, then you need a chair. That idea, that form of the chair, chairness he called it, so that is present in the unseen world of being. And similarly, he gave the examples of love and gods. He said that the gods on earth are just idols, and the love on earth is just kind of a lust, or even if it's not lust, it's not perfect. The perfect one only exists in heaven. So उन्होंने कहा that if the poet is trying to create something new from this earth, then he is just trying to imitate an imitation, which means that poetry is twice removed from reality, reality being the unseen world of being. So, next point, Plato says that poetry appeals to the weaker side of our mind, or the Dionysiac side. He says that unlike philosophy or math, which are rational, or the Apollonian powers, I would say, poetry just leads to the public display of emotion, and it used to be unacceptable in those days, especially for a ruler. So I'll try to link this thing with the current scenario. उस टाइम पे भी ऐसे ही होता था, and a few years back, I'll tell you, in Haryana there used to be a culture called Ragni culture. It used to be a folk song culture, and people used to enjoy these folk songs. Only men used to attend these gatherings. In that, some adult songs would be sung, and some women used to dance on them and stuff like that. And whoever the singer was, although they would hoot on and they would shout on his songs, but nobody would encourage their near and dear ones to become a Ragini singer in those days, because it wasn't something respectable. They thought that they are roaming around with girls, and definitely they are not of a good character. Similarly, in the times of Plato, people who used to recite poetry, they were called rhapsodes, and people, the poets also, both of them, they did not have much respect in those days, and definitely Plato showed this to us through his work Republic. So besides these 2 points, first one that it removes from reality, and the second point that it shows our weaker side to the public, there is a third aspect why he kicked out the poets. He says that poets spread madness. It is a kind of madness which is spread by the poet and the rhapsode. There is a person called Ion. He is a rhapsode, और इनका ये work भी है. इसके अंदर there is a dialogue between Ion and Plato, in which he says that poets do not write, nor rhapsodes speak by art or skill, but by possession. Neither understands what he creates, and they are rather carried by divine inspiration. And this inspiration or madness passes down like a contagion. So प्लेटो यहाँ पे कहते हैं कि पोइट्स और रैप्सोड्स जो है उनमें खुद का कोई टैलेंट या स्किल नहीं होता, बट उनके ऊपर किसी बुरी आत्मा का साया होता है, जिसकी वजह से वो कुछ भी लिख देते हैं, और जो लिखते हैं वो उन्हें खुद भी समझ नहीं आता, बल्कि वो चीज एक वायरस की तरह, एक मैडनेस की तरह सोसाइटी में स्प्रेड हो जाती है. तो यहाँ पर एक फेमस एग्जांपल है प्लेटो का, ऑफ अ मैग्नेट एंड द 3 रिंग्स. इसमें प्लेटो कहते हैं कि अगर एक मैग्नेट है जो कि मैडनेस से भरा हुआ है, तो जो पहली रिंग जो उसको जाके चिपकती है, दैट इज द पोइट. मतलब पोइट होता है जो सबसे पहले जाके मैडनेस को चिपकता है, और उसके बाद आता है रैप्सोड जो उसकी पोएम को लोगों के बीच में बताता है, एंड द लास्ट वन इज द ऑडियंस जो कि फाइनली उस मैडनेस के शिकार हो जाते हैं. He also said that princes should not read poetry in that republic only. So now, having seen why he kicked out the poets, let us argue with Plato and see why he should not have kicked out the poets. First point, when Plato says that they are imitating an imitation and poetry is twice removed from reality. Now, what if the poet, instead of imitating an imitation, captures the real essence of the world of forms? मतलब कि क्या प्लेटो को ही पता है that there is another world? Maybe उस इंसान को भी पता हो that the real world of being exists, और क्या पता वो भी directly अपनी inspiration वहीं से ले रहा हो. So that could also be a possibility, right? So this is the first point. Now let's see the second point, which Plato says that poetry arouses the irrational side. Okay, let's agree that it arouses the irrational side, but doesn't it arouse that irrational side in a controlled setting, like there is, so in a public setting, like people are there, and whenever we are doing something, watching movie, reading books, isn't it a controlled setting? And isn't it better to release our emotions in a controlled setting, because our emotions, we can't get rid of them, right? They are an essential part of our psyche. So instead of releasing those emotions in the street or crashing your car out of anger, isn't it better to release these emotions in a silent place, and so it serves as a therapy and not as an accident? You will also see this concept in the Aristotelian catharsis, and it is from there only that we get this argument. So next is, if poets are possessed, like Plato says, then might not the gods be trying to speak to us? Uh, so I hope you have understood this point easily. If not, do leave a comment. And the fourth one is that Plato, although he criticized all the poets and all the poetry of his time, but ironically he was himself one of the greatest poets. And there's no doubt about that. If you look at how he personifies the eros in his work Symposium, or how he created the narrative in the Timaeus, or the myth of AR in Republic, so such poetry can only be used by a skilled poet, and the way he used to write these things, you can easily understand Plato himself rather than understand a description or a book on Plato. So that is how easy Plato was if you read him. And I suggest that you read about all these four things over here, because only then you will get the correct idea of what I mean to speak to you over here. So this small thing over here, it's your homework, and that was it. So now we'll see the challenge for the future generations. So in the Republic, in the end, Plato says that he will allow entry of poets only if somebody can prove that poetry is useful. That is, it can teach as well as delight, and it does not deceive us. So this was a great challenge which was given by Plato. And you will see that many future generations of thinkers and poets like P.B. Shelley or Philip Sidney tried to write in defense of poetry to counter Plato's arguments. And only because of this 25,000 year long debate, we are today able to study this subject of literary theory and criticism. So that was it for Plato, guys, and in next lecture we will see how Aristotle tries to counter or give arguments to his own teacher Plato via his theory of catharsis. And we'll also see how he gave the perfect outlines for a perfect plot and a perfect hero. So that was it. Thank you.